All rise. The Honorable Judge Watts Parker calls court into session. The case of the Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Judge James Hargis, Senator Alex Hargis, Elbert Hargis, Sheriff Edward Callahan, John Smith, John Abner, and Deputy Jesse Spicer will come to order. The accused are to be tried for conspiracy to murder Town Marshal James Cockrill. Come along with us as we begin the sitting of the jury, the opening statements, and the first witnesses to be called. All aboard the Kentucky-Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger time machine to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. The jury is set. We now have the ruling from the Kentucky State Court of Appeals on who had jurisdiction of the trial. We have all of the defendants arrested and present in the courtroom, with the issue of bail already established. The date is now Saturday, April 15th, 1905. While we do not have the complete opening statements as given in this particular trial, we do have a list of who was on the jury and who gave the statements. The following article comes from the Breathitt County News, Jackson, Kentucky, April 21st, 1905. Quote, the jury in the James Hargis case was completed last Saturday evening at Lexington after more than 200 men had been examined. The jury is composed of the following named citizens: J. H. Tucker, farmer; John W. Lancaster, merchant; John Scully, farmer; Fred Rower, farmer; Roger Gannon, farmer; George D. Kausner, farmer; David Machord, farmer; Samuel Buchanan, farmer; James Friley, ice salesman; C. W. Hardman, farmer; S. C. Robinson, farmer. Colonel C. J. Bronston made the opening statement for the prosecution, while Judge J. R. Morton did a like duty for the defendant. Unquote. So now we have the setting of the jury and the opening statements given by both the prosecution and the defense. This trial will have a lot of surprises in store, and a lot of drama is ahead for the judge and the attorneys. As with anything concerning the Hargises and their trials, it will not go smoothly. The trial will now be postponed until the following Monday. The testimonies of Charles Robbins, Dr. A. H. Barclay, and Riley Coldiron. When the court was back in session on the following Monday, the prosecution came out swinging with their first witnesses on the stand. But would they be strong enough to point a finger at the defendants? Continuing on with the article. Court adjourned until 11 o'clock Monday morning. When Charles Robbins was put on the stand, who testified that he saw Kurt Jett, Bill Britton, and another man fire the shots, that Britton and the unknown man had guns in their hands while Jett had a pistol. Unquote. So, who was this unknown man? Kurt Jett and Bill Britton were already charged and in jail at this time. Why had neither man named a third man that was seen with them? Was it one of the defendants, or was it someone else entirely? Continuing on with the article. Quote, the following brief summary of the evidence was taken from the Courier-Journal reports in this case. Dr. A. H. Barclay of Lexington was the next witness, who testified as to the character of Cockrill's wounds. Riley Coldiron was the next witness, who testified to almost the same facts as Robbins. We do have a little more information about the opening statements from Bronston and how important he felt that the testimony of Robbins and Coldiron really was to his case. From the article written in the Paducah Sun, Paducah, Kentucky, April 17, 1905. Quote, says Hargis will hang. Lexington, Kentucky, April 17th. Colonel C.J. Bronston made the opening statement for the Commonwealth in the murder case against Judge James Hargis. Dispassionate and coolly, he reviewed the testimony of the Commonwealth bases its prosecution upon. And in closing his statement, he said, pointing to Judge Hargis, quote, "And that man's life shall pay the penalty," unquote. Charles Robbins and Riley Coldiron were examined in the Hargis trial this morning. Both said that they saw Kurt Jett and Bill Britton in the courthouse with guns when Cockrill was assassinated, unquote. So, call me a little confused here. Why did Bronston give the testimonies of Coldiron and Robbins so much weight? Usually, the prosecution puts their strongest witnesses on the stand first. All these guys basically testified to was that there was 3 men shooting from the courthouse window, not 2 of them. They didn't identify the other man in the window. They even testified that only Britton and Jett were seen after the shooting with guns in their possession. Of the 3 men who testified so far, one would think that the testimony of Dr. A.H. Barclay would have been the strongest. After all, he did examine the body and could tell the jury about the state it was in and how the bullets entered the body. We do have the details of how he died in several places in his feud with the Hargises and Callahan. We do encourage everyone to watch those videos if you haven't already. The testimonies of Sue Williams and Harrison Blanton. The next 2 witnesses are kind of interesting. Instead of stating that there were 3 men involved, both witnesses seem to suggest that there were only 2 men. Why would the prosecution have them testify unless it involved the placement of one of the defendants during the shooting? Continuing on with the article in the Breathitt County News, April 21st, 1905, quote, Miss Sue Williams was next called, who testified seeing Jett and Britton cross from the courthouse to the Hargis store and back again to the courthouse. Harrison Blanton, the next witness, testified to seeing 2 men in the courthouse window. He then went to the courthouse and saw Kurt Jett and Jesse Spicer standing in the hallway and Bill Britton coming down the steps, unquote. So, now we have a possible placing for Jesse Spicer. Could he have been the 3rd man in the window? It would be interesting that Spicer was seen in the company of Britton and Jett shortly after the shooting. If he was the 3rd man, why didn't he cross the street with the other 2 men? What was he doing in the hallway with them? If he was involved in the shooting, why was he not charged before now? In next week's video, we will begin the testimony of Sebastian Williams. What will this man say that will turn the court on its ear? Why was an objection made to a portion of his testimony, and defense attorneys then demand it stricken from the record? Thank you. We at Kentucky, Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the Appalachian feuds. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky, Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.